Are you choosing your friends wisely? Is that something you think about? Well, let me share with you, as a Christian, the way you choose your friends is very important. And I'm about to share a scripture with you where it gives us wisdom. And I'm going to share with you in context why it's important to choose friends wisely and how not choosing them could affect your walk with God. But if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please subscribe, as the Spiritual Growth Podcast is geared towards giving you wisdom and biblical truth so that your walk with God could be blessed. So let's get started. Do you ever think about your friends and what they bring to you, what value they bring to you, if they even bring anything at all? Are they taking from you? Are they giving to you? Are they leading you closer to God, or they're not leading closer to God? This is something you have to think about as a Christian. And if you're a Christian, choosing your friends is a very important thing that you have to think about, because the friends you choose will determine a lot of your walk in life. And I want to share a scripture with you that Paul tells us and gives us wisdom on what we should do and how we should choose our friends. And in this scripture, it's going to be a little bit in a different context, because Paul's talking about the resurrection and how these people were listening to people that were saying there's no resurrection. But we could still hold it true to us, because there's a lot of people we listen to, or a lot of friends that we might be getting influenced by, that are leading us to believe things that we shouldn't believe, or do things that we know we shouldn't do as Christians. And that's why this scripture is so important. And the scripture I'm going to share with you is in 1 Corinthians chapter 15, 33 through 34. And this is what it says. Do not be deceived. So Paul's saying, don't be deceived. So I'm telling you right now, if you're a Christian and you're not thinking about how you should choose your friends, you might be deceived. And Paul's saying, don't be deceived. He starts off in the scripture, don't be deceived. Understand that choosing your friends as a Christian is very important. And this is how he says, bad company corrupts character, or bad company corrupts good morals. Another translation says it like that. So what is he saying? He's saying people that you associate with, people you hang around with, have the capacity, right, to dictate or persuade you or influence you into bad morals, bad character, right? Bad company corrupts. It corrupts the things that God is trying to do in you. It could corrupt it into a negative outcome or a negative situation or something of that nature. So have you ever wanted to do good and loved your friends, and then you find out you're in a mess, or you find out like something happens, or you find out like, man, you're in a stressful situation and it really has nothing to do with you, or it might, but it's because the friends that you're associating with are taking from you, and you're not able to really grow in what God has for you in your life. But let me finish the scripture, because I believe this is another important part that Paul's talking about. Remember, it's about the resurrection. They're listening to someone that said there wasn't a resurrection, and Paul's saying that's not true. There is a resurrection. But then they're also doing something that Paul's like, look at, they're actually sinning. They're actually leading you to sin, because Paul wouldn't mention this unless he knew that what they were listening to and the people that they're associating with that was telling them this lie is also leading them to sin. And this is what he says in the next part. Become sober-minded as you ought to, and stop sinning. For some have no knowledge of God. I speak this to your shame. So Paul's saying, look at, be sober-minded. Understand that we're supposed to have a sober mind and understand what God is calling us to do in life. And then he says, stop sinning, right? And some people have no knowledge of God. So Paul's saying the people you're talking to have no knowledge of God, and they're leading you into a rabbit hole. They're leading you into a wrong direction, and it's causing you guys to sin. So I want to share with you, think about your friend group. Think about your best friends, the people you spend most time with. Are they leading you closer to God? Are they taking it from you, or are they imparting to you wisdom? Are they leading you closer to God? Because every Christian should want to have friends that are leading them closer to God, that can hold them accountable and lead them into a direction in their walk with God to walk in the fullness with God. Because God sometimes has something in store for you that you're postponing because you're not allowing God to do the work only He could do. And a lot of this happens, and I see it as a minister, a lot of this happens because people are choosing friends that are holding them back or leading them down the wrong path. And now their walk with God is stagnant, stale, or they're even walking in sin because they're choosing the wrong friends. Because it's like this. It's like you have 100-pound backpack on your back and you're trying to climb up this mountain. And as you're climbing the mountain, your back, and it's getting heavy, it's getting hard. So you have to sit down and take a rest. You have to maybe stop and just think about if you could even climb up this mountain. Is this even possible for you? And as you're walking up with that 100-pound backpack, your journey to the top of that mountain seems bleak, and your journey to reach the top, you don't know if it's ever going to happen. And that's how it is with people who are choosing the wrong friends as Christians. You're being held back from God's purpose in your life. It's postponing the destiny God has for you. And you're wondering why you're not where you're supposed to be. And you wonder why you keep struggling. And you wonder why you keep falling short of the glory of God. And it could be because you're going to the friends that are not leading you closer to God, but leading you farther from God. You're going with the friends that are leading you into sin. Like Paul said, stop sinning, and it's postponing the destiny God has for you. Not because sin does it, but because sin brings condemnation, and there's consequence to sin that limits your experience with God. Because most people who sin feel shame. Most people who sin feel condemned, and it leads them farther from God, not closer. And because your relationship with God is not on a firm foundation, you're allowing your destiny and your purpose to be postponed because you're picking friends that are not leading you closer to God. So how important is it to pick friends and choose friends wisely? Very important. I believe it's one of the most critical things you could do as a Christian is get around like-minded friends that are going to lead you and push you in the right direction to be closer to Jesus and walk into the fullness that God has for your life. So if you feel like this video brought value to you, please hit the subscribe button. Please like this video, because this is our spiritual growth podcast that is geared to giving you wisdom so that you can apply it to your life and that you can see God do a work in your heart and your walk with God be blessed. So please share this. Please subscribe. And like always, think about the friends that you're choosing and be wise and be blessed.